Hello and welcome back to the Old Rope Salvage Workshop. It's an exciting week this week. In the last video you probably saw we got the cab completely ready to go back on the chassis, and the chassis was pretty much ready to accept the cab being put on. But there's one last thing we really want to do with this, and that's get the engine running. Check out that they've got no major problems and leaks or things, because the accessibility of it is so much better now as it is before the cab goes on. My list of things to do was getting smaller and smaller, and it's got to the point now where I don't think there's anything left on it, but I'm still finding bits to do. One of the last bits to do was the carburetors and give them a good look over. Now I do have a receipt in here for a rebuild kit. It's about 10 years old, and so really what I've done is I've taken them apart, I've cleaned them out, I've checked over everything to see that there's no damage on anything, and basically just put them back together again, all cleaned up. I'm making some new fuel lines, putting those on, and I'm going to put these back on, and there is not a great deal left to do. Hopefully, in this episode, we shall have this thing running, and who knows what else we might have done, because I don't know. It all depends on how smoothly this goes, I guess. Right, going to get on with putting these carburetors on and getting some water, getting some fuel, seeing what happens. It's quite exciting.
Oh, bless him. He really is quite excited, but then who can blame him? For those of you who are new here or who just can't remember that far back, it is exactly 4 years since we moved into this workshop and began the restoration on our 1975 Bedford truck, with the intention of eventually converting it into a rolling home on wheels. We've been at this a long time, so to finally be getting the engine in and, well, hopefully running, it's, a big deal. But you might want to strap in, folks, because it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride.
One of the things I thought I probably should mention or talk about, could be useful for some people, I don't know. An oil pressure gauge. If you're kind of starting a car up for the first time after a bit of a rebuild, or you just want to know the condition of your engine, maybe you bought a new car or whatever it might be, this could be quite a useful thing. Not many cars actually have a gauge fitted to them. You might get lucky. But they will all have a warning light that tells you when you have a very low oil pressure. If you really just want to know the condition of your engine, something like an oil pressure gauge is a really good way of knowing how well your oil pump's working and the general welfare of it all. We don't have a gauge fitted to this, but fortunately we have a little T-piece, and where the warning light was, there used to be one. You can just find the position where your the warning lamp sender is in the block, remove that and then fit something into that to put a gauge into it. We just borrowed this kit. They are available relatively cheaply. It's a gauge on a long hose. There's a couple of connectors if you're in a tight position, and there's a whole load of different fittings for different engines. So there should be one in there that fits the engine, so you can take out your old warning lamp sender, find the right one of these that fits in, connect this up, and then when you run the engine it will tell you exactly what the oil pressure is that your engine is making. So yeah, a really good indicator of how well it's doing, because obviously if the oil pressure is too low then you really shouldn't be running the engine. Yeah, it's a good little tool, and again, thanks Nick helping us out. catching the wires. Okay, so hopefully it will spin around.
Yeah, it's gone up.
It went up a little bit.
It's dropping down
How much did it go up to?
now. About 5.
Alright, well, I'll check the oil level, see if it needs a little bit more in there, and go again. Alright, we still got oil on the dipstick. We're a couple of litres short of how much we need. Sucked all the petrol through as well. Okay. I wasn't expecting it to suck the petrol that fast, but it's completely like taken petrol right up and is leaking. Yeah, I was a bit premature putting petrol in it because I thought it would take a while to suck that through, but obviously it's done a fine job of emptying that bottle already. Wow. Okay. Alright, I'm going to put the camera down for a minute and come back in a little bit when I've worked all this out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I saw that. Everything on this truck's Imperial, but it's got Weber carburetors, which are metric, so I wouldn't normally get an adjustable spanner on it, but oh, it's not even tight.
Yeah.
Alright, well hopefully that I could see straight away.
Yeah.
Oh, it quite pumped out quite a bit there, didn't it?
Yeah. It's like 10 quid a mile at that rate.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? Right, let's have another go and see if that's good. Right, that's good.
It's not coming out now.
And hopefully it will stop sucking any more petrol because it's not going into the carburetor. We have no other leaks anywhere that I can see at the moment, which is pretty good really, considering. Which is just as well because we just about ran out of petrol there. That's good. That's the result. One little thing that wasn't done up properly, and I can't see any other leaks at the moment. But we need to get back because we're doing the oil pressure. So maybe we'll carry on, spin it over till the battery goes flat, and hopefully we'll get oil pressure before we run out. Still going up? That's second black, so it's only still less than £20.
Yeah.
Oh. I want it to go up in about here.
Okay.
But that is maybe when it's running and the engine's turning over fast, it will get a bit more. That is only on the start motor, so well, we know we've got some oil pressure, the pump's working and everything, and I guess even if it ran on just under £20, it's not going to kill it, is it? Could take the rocker cover off to see if they've got oil along the top of the rockers. Good, good. Right, that's good. We're heading in the right direction. All I need to do now is go and get a load of water and fill it up. This is going to take a while, isn't it? Why don't they get a hose pipe? That would make it quicker. We've got a hose pipe. What we don't have is a tap. But we do have a stream. We got about that far up and water started coming out already. It's a little bit annoying. Got new clamps, hoses are all good, pipes have been painted up and checked out, and I still get a water leak. But that's, well, we're doing it now. It's going to be one of them days, isn't it? We promised you an engine starting,
but we gave you a water leak.
Petrol leak, water leak, all leaks. It's a day of leaks. I wonder if I can put, there's quite a lot of pipe in that, so I could put a second clamp on it. Double clamp it. Right, carry on. Is it leaking?
Give it a minute. Yeah.
These things that just don't self-heal themselves, they just get worse.
We always pray for a miracle.
drain plug still works. Oh, I do. Let's carry on.
Oh, there's another leak. Just a slight drip.
Well, that's good, isn't it? It means there's water all the way up to there now.
You can tell how far it's got by where it's dripping from.
Yeah, we don't really want one there. It's going all over the alternator. I just underestimated how tight these all need to be. Alright, let's go and get some more water.
It seemed to stop dripping as soon as you tightened it.
Yeah,
so.
hopefully. We'll get drips higher up maybe. We'll tighten all those up as well. Go get some more water. Today's task is to try and get this all started up. And it's gradually just problem solve as we go along, isn't it? Oh, my brown spark plug's back in. Burnt bronze spark plugs. I have put new ends on them and cleaned them up, but they got oversprayed on the cylinder head. So they're a beautiful bronze colour. I did just check it. We do appear to have a spark. If it's in the right place or not, I don't know. Hopefully we've done our job right and it's roughly right. So yeah, get these in and the wire's on. Is that it? Can we start it then? Just going to flick it over now and see if it wants to sort of say anything. Holy crap! Can I say that? What the hell? I was not expecting that. What the heck? That just ran.
Is that? I think that's a good thing.
I swear, honestly, we have not run this before. We have not run. I've literally just put the spark plugs in. I just thought I'd turn it. It just started up.
He wasn't even going to put the camera on. He was just like,
Wow. All morning we've had water leaks, things that's not. Oh, it's unreal.
that sounded really good, didn't it?
I'm like, that is mental. I'm just touching wires. Oh, cool. That is amazing. Wow. Right, I'm going to try it again. Can you check the pressure gauge here?
Okay.
That's just unreal. I didn't even get the choke connected. Just so I can leave it running out. So I can't do that. It's never going to happen again now, is it? That's it.
It's been going really badly all morning, so that was unexpected.
We're going to run out of petrol in a minute. That's the gasket.
Is the gasket on fire?
Could be. Well, we need to know these things now, don't we, rather than later.
That didn't take long.
No, I mean, it's going to be very, very hot.
It was very hot. It's nice and toasty, that is.
There's that funny noise, that's the compressor.
Yeah. So apart from it catching fire...
That was so smooth.
Yeah.
And I think the timing might need to be adjusted. Yeah, but it ran.
That's fine, we don't worry about that. Nobody cares about this.
Well, that was most unexpected. The engine just started up straight away, went on to tick over really good. We have obviously done all the settings for it. I've tried to get the timing as good as I could. I didn't know if the spark was going to work well, and the carburetors, they've only just been taken apart, put back together again, set to like what should be no throttle, and that was a shock for it just to start running. After a little bit, and the exhaust manifold started to get hot, there was a lot of smoke coming out, and I think might have a problem with the manifold, the gaskets were made up, maybe not being heat resistant enough. But the only thing really to do now is to leave it running for a while and see if it burns through them, because as we've said, this is a lot easier to get to things before the cab goes on, and we really want to make sure this is okay and all the water leaks are sorted out before the cab goes on. So I think we're going to run this for a bit longer and get it set up a bit better. But wow, that was amazing. It just started up and ran. I'm amazed. It's brilliant.
I'm so glad you're happy.
Good afternoon. It's currently the Tuesday after engine start up Saturday. It went so well on Saturday. The way that it just started up, it was fantastic. And it was running a little bit out of tune, a little bit here and there. And I thought I'd come back in Monday morning, make some adjustments on the mixtures and everything, because it's running a bit rich, make some adjustments on the timing and get it really good. But Monday morning, it wouldn't start. It wouldn't do anything right. All sorts of little problems. I think possibly what the problem is that the fuel pump, the Weber carburetors that are on it, only like a certain amount of pressure to them. And although it's only got a mechanical fuel pump, I think maybe it's sort of over fueling. I don't know if that is a problem, but I'm looking at that. I've currently got the fuel pump off and I was checking that that wasn't leaking into the engine, and we might possibly go for an electric fuel pump with a pressure regulator on it to make sure that the carburetors don't get too much fuel into them. I'm not sure if that's the problem with it, where it's running too rich, but we're going to just go one thing at a time. I might have to take the carburetors off again and take them apart. It's kind of really disappointing. We thought we'd get this running, it ran so well, a few tweaks, sort out a few little issues with water leaks, and we'd be good to go, and we'd have the cab on at the weekend. But as it is at the moment, I'm fixing stuff and trying to make it run properly. Oh well. Sorry about the noise, it's someone's ploughing a field, I think. What am I doing? Right. I have the carburetors set up on the bench and I have an electric fuel pump. I'm testing some stuff out here. I was a bit concerned when it was running the first time, when it ran pretty well, that it was still running very rich. And although I have some adjustments I can make on the carburetors to lean it up, I was still a little bit worried about it really, because part of it is that these Weber carburetors, they recommend that you don't put too much pressure into them, because too much pressure can override the floats in them. And so what I wanted to test, although I don't think the mechanical pump is probably likely to give that amount of pressure, I just really wanted to rule it out. So I've got the old fuel pump off the old truck. I am currently removing the fuel pump off the old truck to try that out on the big one, because it only goes up to a maximum of 4 psi, so it could be a bit more suitable. So yeah, I'm on a mission. Although they recommend 3 psi for these, I thought that might at least give me an idea. So I've set it up on the bench, the carburetors are back together, and I'm going to pump the fuel in and just see if there's any leakage through them. which could maybe be the result of it running a bit too rich, or maybe it just needs adjusting. I'm just testing all this stuff out really, checking it just to see what is happening with this as it goes on. So I'm going to do that now, test it. That looks like it's filled the carbs up. There's no more fuel coming through. Can't see anything at the moment. So far it looks pretty good. Yeah, actually that looks pretty good. It doesn't appear to be anything like, at the moment, leaking through them, so maybe we're good. Maybe I'll try and run it with this fuel pump. I'll put all this back together again now. I'd use this fuel pump. Actually, before I do that, I might test that one as well, just to see if I can do it by hand, if it builds up too much. But at the moment I'm just doubly checking everything that I can, just to make sure these are good. I'm going to try and balance them up as good as I can and get it running as good as I can. That's all I can do really, isn't it? So that's good. Like deja vu here. Cubs going back on.
I'm not sure if things were looking that good at this point, but the thing with Tim is he never gives up. He will check, double check, take stuff apart, test it again, put it back together, take it apart, fix, test it, until he figures it out and gets it working again. It's a process of learning really, gaining knowledge and understanding through trial and error. It's not always easy, rarely is it easy, but it does work, mostly. We hope. Oh, and it wasn't the gasket which went up in smoke, just some oil burning off as it happened. So that's a win.
Right, I think I've got everything together. Fuel pump mounted on here temporarily. Better get some more petrol. I'm going to have a go at starting up again, I think. Right with you. Yeah. Carbs are back on. Some petrol there. Fuel pump here. I'll just prime it up first. Battery in. Right, you can kind of hear a slight change in the pump, I think, when it's done its job. No leaks. No fuel leaks. Okay. Right, let's give it a crank over. A little bit more idle speed. Plugs haven't been cleaned up or anything, so probably would be a good idea to do that. And there's no choke on it, so who knows. Give it a bit of gas. Yeah. See, don't want to start anymore. Clean up plugs. Have another go. Going to try it again now with a little bit of choke after cleaning the plugs up. So ignition. Better. Well, today, now, it seems like it's running better, but it does need to choke to start, which is probably a good thing because the first time it didn't, and now maybe, well, I'm going to do a few more things. I'm waiting, I'm going to get a strobe light to properly set the timing, get that right spot on, and then we'll go through a bit, I'm going to go through a little bit more tuning sort of stuff up to the point where it like runs really nice. It's encouraging. Yeah, it's running again. Don't have to drink petrol though. God. I have a timing light. So hopefully I can get this running a little bit better, because up till now all I've done is tried to set the timing to as best I could. And as this doesn't have points in it, it's a little bit difficult to get the electronic ignition thing to like tell you exactly where that point is. Pretty straightforward really. We have a little pressed sort of chrome little ball bearing on the flywheel, which I have put a little bit of Tipex, so now it's a white ball bearing, and that marks the, I'm pretty sure it's the top 10 degrees before top dead center. So top dead center is marked on the flywheel, but also the timing ball is also on there. So I just connect this up to 12 volts, put this little clip over number 1 spark plug lead, pull the trigger, and with it running, hopefully we'll have a pulsy light, and we just have to match up the little ball with the pointer, and then we should have perfectly set timing to 10 degrees before top dead center. So yeah, I'm going to connect this on and get it running, and hopefully that all works. Alright, that was definitely started to run a little bit better there. The timing was quite a way off. I couldn't see the ball to start off with at all. You could hear it changing engine speed, and then suddenly, it started like running much better. It's still on quite a lot of choke at the moment. Until it warms up, it's not going to run really properly, but maybe that will help it start up a bit easier now. Getting closer. Next thing to do after that is to start adjusting the carburetors up a bit better to sort of check that they're running on the idle, that they're not too lean, not too rich. Yeah, this is definitely a start. Whew. Oh, it does bang and pop, doesn't it? Goodness me. I have been running the engine this morning, trying to like fine tune it a little bit better, and it's getting there. It uses up a massive amount of fuel when it's on choke, but once it's off the choke it seems to be a little bit better, but there's still some imbalance in the carbs, but it runs really good. I'll just start it now. You are miles away, but fuel pump, ignition. I'll say that and now it doesn't start. Looks like it cools down quickly. But yeah, it's running much better. Obviously, as soon as I put the camera on, it doesn't, but that's why I've not been filming some stuff.
So, after the numerous leaks, the misfires, the backfires and the gasket fire, which never actually was, the taking apart, the carburettor tests and the new fuel pump, Tim did rather unfortunately manage to snap one of the spark plugs. And although he would not admit to this or recommend his course of action, he superglued it together and made the engine run anyway. We did, however, stretch the budget to some new spark plugs because, well, superglue isn't that super. And speaking of leaks, we did eventually stem the radiator flood as well, for a princely sum of £4. So, among the things that we've had to deal with the engine this week, the numerous issues that Tim's been repairing, one of the sort of lesser kind of worrying ones, I suppose, but very annoying ones, was that we did actually have quite a leak in the radiator when we put the water through it. We put the water through it, and it runs through, and then out the bottom here we've got a bucket underneath still, just in case, but it did come out of there quite a steady flow initially. The initial thought was that we just hadn't put the clamps on tightly enough, so we went over those and tightened up all the clamps. I think Tim actually added a couple of clamps as well. But it carried on dripping. It did reduce it, but it did carry on dripping. And I think he traced it back to a leak further up, and it was kind of just running through. And anyway, had a little bit of a think about this, and there was a couple of options. It's not something that we kind of had to repair immediately to get the engine running. I think at one point Tim even considered just dry running it, but I was like, no, let's put the water in. So we weren't overly panicking or anything. A couple of options though with repairing the radiator. One of them is to get the radiator repaired by a professional radiator repair person. We were recommended somebody over in Plymouth, but obviously if you do something like that, you're probably looking at quite a hefty bill, probably running into several £100s. And what they would do is they would replace all the copper in here and probably replace it with a modern aluminium. So we didn't want to do that just yet because, you know, budget, and we've got priorities at the moment. So Tim decided he was going to buy some of this stuff. I'm sure that many of you will have heard of this, used it, or certainly be aware of it. It's called Radweld, and it's a radiator leak repair. And you pour it in, and it flows throughout the radiator and it plugs up the holes, apparently. Most critically, it costs £4. So we're giving this a go, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. He's put it in. Just a couple of drips that have come out of it, but it's the more you run it, the more it kind of works because it has to kind of go through the whole system. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll put the cab on and we will worry about it no more. If it becomes a big issue in the future that we've got an extremely leaky radiator, then of course we will have to do something more radical about it, and I believe that we can, although it is a bit of a job, actually drop the radiator out the bottom without taking the cab off. So it's just one of many bridges that we may or may not have to cross in the future. But until then, £4. £4. No one can blame Tim for trying this, can they? Well, after a long week, there was just one issue left to resolve: the oil leaking from the rocker cover. Those of you with excellent memory recall may remember Tim complaining that the rocker cover was stuck down with half a ton of gloopy silicone, and now he knows why. Because it leaks. Not wanting to seal it back in the same way, he had already fitted a cork gasket, so he kept that on and, yes, added a load of silicone on top. But he allowed it to dry before refitting, so it would be extra squishy but not sticky. Speaking from the future, this did work, although it took a day or two for the silicone to dry before he put it back on, which means we all get the fun spectacle of watching the engine run with the rocker off. Hold on to your ears.
Wasn't. That's much better. Oh my god, that's really good. Okay, I thought it was off the choke, and I'd left the little pegs on there, and I pushed it back on the choke, but it was still open a bit. That'll stop the petrol going down so quick now. That's much better. That sounds so smooth, doesn't it?
It is nice.
It's really nice. Peace and quiet. Well, that was a far more successful run. Basically, I was trying to sort out all the little problems. I found a little tiny issue with one of the carburetors. It's what I've been having a bit of a problem with. And I was really surprised to find the carburetor has a vacuum pipe. Both of them have one, but it only connects to one of the carburetors. And I just thought, oh, I'll just take off the blanking plug off the other one. And it had a leak in it. And that means it's sucking in extra air through the vacuum pipe position. So I've plugged that up, and immediately has made quite a bit of a difference. Both the carbs feel much more balanced now. Yeah, that was a much more successful run. No water leaks that I can see, no oil leaks, only it's obviously coming from the rocker cover. It's running really nice, it seems to rev really good, and yeah, this is much more encouraging. So, I don't know, I guess we can put the cab on now, because the engine is sounding pretty good, yeah.
Yes indeed, we really are going to be putting the cab on in the next video. Yep, we can't believe it either. If you watched to the end, well done and thank you. Drop us a comment or just give us a thumbs up and we'll bring you more of the same. What a bargain. Huge thanks to the patrons, and special thanks this week to Martin, who came to visit and not only treated us to a Sunday roast, but a couple of pasties too. Proper job. Take care everyone, and see you next time.
Let me run through the breeze like the leaves on the trees. Let me fly